This happened about 18 months ago. It was a remote area, though not particularly desolate, which means it does get many hikers in the summer and autumn months. But back then, it was totally deserted due to the extreme cold and heavy snowfall. As you can see here, there are no tracks whatsoever ahead of me. This should give you an idea of how deep the snow was. I was looking around myself every now and then, and after walking for about 2 or 2.5 hours, I could see someone far behind me. I'm 100% sure it wasn't someone taking a break, because there were no tracks ahead of me, and I should have noticed if I passed them by. The person seemed to keep their distance. I stopped after a while to see if they would catch up to me, and it seemed they picked up the pace for a few minutes, but then stopped. When I resumed walking, so did they. I decided to keep hiking as if nothing was out of the ordinary, but after about an hour, they disappeared. I didn't look behind me for like 10 or 15 minutes, and when I turned again, they were gone. The trail elevation varies a lot, and there are several bends, but I never saw them again for the rest of the hike. My best explanation is the person grew tired. It's very hard and exhausting to hike deep in the snow if you're not a very fit person, and either turned back or slowed way down. But the most confusing part is, where the hell did they come from? They weren't always behind me, and they didn't seem fast enough to start the long hike after myself, and then caught up to me. Maybe they were in the woods and then found the trail again. I'm really unsure what to make of this. Edit. I'm not a skittish person by nature, and usually I try to find a reasonable explanation for things. I'm 6'2" and 225 pounds, and I've been hiking and camping for the best part of a decade now. But a combination of how the person appeared like 2 hours into the hike, how he was reacting to my movement, and how he was walking near the edge of the trail under the trees was pretty unsettling. I'm interested in hearing if you guys can explain it. This happened 3 nights ago, and I'm going crazy trying to figure it out. I just moved into a new apartment 1 month ago, and I'm still unpacking and settling in. I have been using my parents' address as my mailing address. They live a few towns over, like 20 minutes away, all of my life. 3 nights ago, my parents called me at 2:00 a.m., freaked out, and proceeded to tell me this story. Apparently at 1 a.m., someone starts banging on their front door and repeatedly ringing their doorbell. My stepdad walks downstairs and opens the door, leaving the front glass door closed and locked. There was a man standing outside who looked to be in his 30s with a black hoodie on with the hood pulled up around his face. He didn't have any distinguishing facial features, facial hair or tattoos. The only thing my stepdad said was that he looked to be Hispanic. Neither my stepdad nor my mother, who was watching the whole thing out a window, recognized the man. The man says, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for, insert my full name here." My stepdad plays dumb and says, "Who?" The man proceeds to state my full name again and says that my boyfriend is worried because I didn't come home that night. He claims to be a friend of my boyfriend and tells my stepdad that they are both out looking for me, worried because I didn't show up at home. I don't have a boyfriend. I live by myself with my 3 dogs and haven't been in a relationship in the past 6 months. Here's the weird part. My stepdad asked the guy what boyfriend he was talking about, and the man told him the name of the boyfriend I had when I was in 10th grade, nearly 20 years ago. My boyfriend in 10th grade has a very, very unique Italian name, and I've never met anyone with a full name even close to his. He says my high school boyfriend's name a few more times to ensure my stepdad heard him, and repeats that they are very worried about me. Is my stepdad sure I'm not inside? At this point, my stepdad is weirded out and closes and locks the door in his face. But the man doesn't leave. He lingers in front of my parents' house for the next 10 minutes, smoking cigarettes and talking on the phone. Finally, they call the cops. About 5 minutes before the cops arrive, the man walks down to the dead end on their block and drives away in a silver car. Stepdad was unable to get the license plate. My parents filed a police report and nothing else happens. After I hear this story, I'm going nuts over the weird details. How would somebody know who I dated nearly 20 years ago? And what would be the motive of making up a story that included that weird detail about my past? I have not had contact with a 10th grade boyfriend in over a decade. Yesterday, I decided to message him on Facebook to see if he has any insight. I tell him the whole story. He's just as confused as I am and claims to have no part in it. I am at a loss. I am also really freaked out that some strange man is going through that much trouble at 1 a.m. to look for me. Any insights or ideas would be greatly appreciated. No, nothing else has happened since then. Alright, so 1 year later, I finally have an update to this mystery. My stepsister, my stepdad's daughter, and her fiance were at a house party right after the holidays, around early January of this year. While they were there, they started talking to a girl that neither of them knew. After some time talking together, the girl started talking about her ex-boyfriends and how they were going through a really tough time together. They had just recently broke up, and she felt really bad because he was a wreck over it. Somehow, it came up that this girl's ex-boyfriend was my 10th grade boyfriend, the one with a really unique Italian name. The whole situation wasn't that big of a coincidence since I went to high school with my stepsister's fiance and we have a lot of mutual friends. So it makes sense that they were at a party that would include some other people I went to school with. As soon as my stepsister and her fiance hear this, they both start freaking out and, without revealing too many details, they tell the girl about the whole mystery and how weird it was. As they are telling the story, the girl's face starts to go white and she looks like she's about to cry. My stepsister and fiance try to console her and ask her what's wrong. The wine and beer had been flowing at this point, so I'm sure everyone was a little tipsy. The girl starts to tell them that a few nights ago she was sleeping and someone started banging on her door at, get this, 1 a.m., just like what happened to me at my parents'. The girl jumps out of bed and says she was absolutely terrified by how loudly and aggressively somebody was banging on her door. She said she literally thought it was going to break in. The girl has a Ring camera, so she looks on her phone. There on the camera is a guy in a black hoodie banging on her door. She obviously pretends like she isn't home and keeps all the lights off. He continues banging. As she is getting ready to dial 911, the guy stops and leaves. She said she was absolutely terrified. For whatever reason, she didn't end up calling the cops, but may have gone to stay with a friend that night or the night after. So my stepsister and fiance are shocked by the details and how similar it is to my story, especially because of the mutual ex-boyfriend we share. Except this girl literally just broke things off with him. They ask the girl if she has any idea who the guy is, and she says no, but that it definitely is not the actual ex-boyfriend. She said this guy was much taller and heavier than our shared mutual ex. How fucking weird. This mystery is still unsolved, and these new details honestly just make my head spin even more. No one else has showed up to my parents' door since the actual incident a year ago. A little over a year ago, I was approached on Twitter by a girl claiming she wanted to work together. Her location was not only the same city as mine, but in the same community as well. After a brief convo in the DMs, I realized his profile was strange. It was fake. Immediately, I blocked her and keep it moving. After this, it just gets so strange, bro. This person continues to make fake profiles, pretending to know me, and eventually went into using fake phone numbers, WhatsApp, to text me. I never gave them my number. It's weird enough this person is persistent and stalking or harassing me. I'm a freelance entrepreneur. A great portion of my income comes from online, so if it were up to me, I'd just unplug. But I can't let them harm my career. But this person has gone onto my friends' numbers or profiles to contact them. I have no idea how. I'm very discreet. I do not interact with these friends online, and somehow this person has been finding them one by one over the past year, and persistently harassing them, even making fake Facebook profiles to harass certain people I deal with. Not only my friends in the same area and group, but also friends I have scattered from different cities. When I tell you, and this is not an exaggeration, I have blocked over 100 Instagram, Twitter profiles, texting app numbers, and emails from this person. And keep in mind, you need a new email to make an Instagram. I'm a single man. Of course I have lady friends, but none of them are under the impression it is anything different. And I have no bad blood with any ex or former fling. I'm on good terms with everyone as far as I know. But someone is targeting me and any person they think I date or talk to romantically. It has affected relationships with people I deal with. Either someone I know, I have no idea how close, but they are close enough, secretly hates me and wants to make my life hell. Or a stranger is obsessed with me and wants to run everyone around me away from me. I have prayed on this, man. Like honestly, just asking God to reveal who this is to me or make it go away. After a year, the persistence is starting to wear me down. I have no idea who this is pressing me. I reported to the police, but they haven't done much. I even tried to hire a digital private investigator, but the few I've contacted said they cannot help me. Can anyone please give me some direction, man? It's sick. Something has to give. Thanks. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. I've been checking my area's Craigslist, and lo and behold, I saw a really weird post in my area in the missing connections section. The post said, "Your mother is in Hawaii," which on my Facebook, I have a profile pic of me in Hawaii with a Hawaii hat. Then the post said, "Your birthday is blank on the blank," which of course was my birthday. Then the post said, "This is your big sister." I'm very, very, very confused. Am I crazy? Is this just a coincidence? Is the big sister the accomplice? Did they hack my Wi-Fi? I mentioned down in the comments that I changed my Wi-Fi password because there were 2 unknown devices connected. What the hell is going on? It all started when I moved into our new house and started up a gym membership. I'm 5'3" and look pretty young for my age. Somebody the other day knocked and asked if my mother was home. Cringe, so I look like a little girl, I'm told. So one night at the gym, I see this weird guy staring at me and sort of following me around. He looked crazy, like a shell-shocked soldier. He was a very socially awkward, quiet, smart-looking kind of guy. He had a huge build too, probably like 6'4" and a bodybuilder type. So then he eventually passed by the machine I was on and looked directly at me, almost like he was trying to read me. It was like a deer in the headlights. My gut just told me I was in trouble. So I get up and head for the lockers, and no surprise, he headed for the men's. I made myself literally sit in that locker room for 20 minutes to make sure that we would not leave at the same time. I peer out of the locker room, don't see him, and start heading for the exit. This guy literally pops out of nowhere and heads out behind me. At this point, I'm now accepting the challenge. Stupid, I know. I slow down and stare at him with the most serious deadlock stare I can muster up. He walks to his car and I walk to mine, staring at each other the entire time. I stand there in front of my car and stare, and he slides into his car. He then lowers his head and gives me the most bone-chilling, evil-eyed stare anyone had ever given me. It kind of made me chuckle. I waited for him to drive off. So then I figured I lost him and started driving home. I live in a very small town with neighborhoods with dead-end cul-de-sacs. So, right before I turn into my neighborhood, this SUV drives up behind me on my tail all aggressively. I know he followed me home after that, but I have no idea how he was so stealthy. I'm pretty sure this guy is ex-military, just by his demeanor, age 36 or so, his SUV, and just everything screamed ex-military. So anyways, 3 days go by and my husband leaves for work. I'm upstairs in bed and I hear my front door open. Someone just walked into my house. My heart stopped. I had no idea what was going on. I creep out of my room and see all 3 of my kids are fast asleep. I walk over to one of their rooms and look out the window to the street. My heart does that dropping thing again. A car was parked directly in front of my house that I don't recognize. It was an old unmarked car that was parked at a very unusual diagonal angle, and it was running. I started stomping on my ceiling and I start waving my hands at the car to threaten it. It races off and leaves whoever is in my house. Then, all of a sudden, I see this man emerge from under the window with his face completely covered. He was walking away with a quickness. But get this, he had the same build as the guy from the gym. It is just unmistakable. He's huge and I've never seen dudes this big. At first, I thought it was an unrelated robbery, but statistically, they don't come back to the scene if caught. And he didn't take anything downstairs. And my laptop was right downstairs. My husband has seen that car apparently once after that 3 weeks later. And it sped off when he walked outside. My brother-in-law came to visit a couple of weeks ago and had to park around the corner. He told me he saw a guy walking by the house and looking very suspicious. When I asked for his description, he said some guy with a big build. I'm creeped out. I don't know what's going to happen. Back in 2019, I, 18 female, decided to download Tinder a few months after a rough breakup. I was very inexperienced with dating and pretty shy, so it seemed unlikely that I would meet a potential partner in person. Anyway, after a few matches that led to nothing, I came across the profile of someone that I found very attractive, 21 male. We matched, exchanged Snapchats, and continued to set up a date. Our first date was relatively normal and enjoyable. We saw a movie, and by the end of it, I felt like we hit it off. However, our relationship was extremely short-lived. Not long after I had agreed to be his girlfriend, after about a month of going out, he began to behave very erratically and would sometimes fall completely silent in the middle of conversation, ignoring me when I tried to ask him what was wrong. He became hot-tempered, slamming doors and speeding on the road when he was mad. I started to feel really uncomfortable about our relationship. This went on for about a few weeks until one night when we were on our way to have dinner downtown. He fell silent mid-conversation. I became extremely anxious as he pulled into a nearby parking garage, wondering what I had done to upset him. As we parked, I decided to ask him what was wrong. He didn't answer. When I asked him again, he shouted at me to shut the fuck up. I was completely frozen for a moment, but I finally got up the courage to tell him we were done, gather my belongings from the car, and walk over to the nearest coffee shop to call an Uber. It was fairly late at night, so I walked as fast as I could, hoping he wouldn't follow me. When I made it to the stop, I noticed I had several missed calls from him. When I made it home that night, I blocked him on all social media and decided to never contact him again. I'm fairly familiar with the dynamic of toxic relationships, and I knew that if he could talk to me that way, completely unprompted, it was likely that he was capable of much more. About a week goes by. As I start to settle my emotions a bit, I decide to confide in a friend who had never met the guy about what happened, feeling completely embarrassed. A few nights later, I received a text from the same friend. It was a screenshot of an Instagram DM from someone she didn't follow, my now ex. It said something to the effect of, "Hey, I'm so sorry we're having to meet like this, but Redacted is ignoring me and I need to talk to her." My heart sank. I decided to message all of my friends separately and let them know what happened, just in case. Later that week, I started receiving several DMs from various accounts, all without profile pictures or posts. Eventually I gave in and responded to one, asserting that the relationship was over and that I didn't want to hear from him again. I blocked the accounts immediately afterwards. As time went on without hearing a word in weeks, I figured I had reached the end of the situation. Until one morning, while I walked to my car, I noticed something dangling around the handle of my car door. It was a necklace I had gave him. He had only picked me up once from my house before. The thought of him driving to my house about a half hour from his place earlier that night freaked me out. I was shaken up for a while. It was by no means an expensive necklace, and I had the exact same one, but I kept pushing it. I thought maybe it was his way of acknowledging that we were done. 2 months later, I was working my job at a small boutique near my house. I was used to answering the phone several times a day, so when the phone rang, I thought nothing of it. But when I picked up, I immediately recognized his voice. He started rambling about wanting a sweatshirt back, but I hung up before he could finish. That was the last time I would ever tell someone I was dating where I worked. I was completely losing it at this point, especially considering he never called me at work while we were together. I don't even know how he knew I was working at that day or time. I told my sister the situation, and she, being very protective, decided to message him herself. She told him to leave me alone and even offered to give him back the sweatshirt for me. He refused and insisted on meeting up with me in person to get it. When it became abundantly clear that he didn't actually want the sweatshirt back, she threatened him with the PPO, to which he never responded. That was the last time I heard from him.